Hello everyone. In this video, I'm going to show you how you can customize the font and colors of your hit tracker. Now, I'm assuming you already have it set up in your OBS. I'm just going to cover how you can style it a little bit. Now, currently, there isn't a way to change these fonts and colors easily in the HitCounterManager settings. So I'm going to show you how to do it in the code. You don't have to be a web developer for this, though if you are, you'll probably be able to make more advanced modifications on your own after I show you how to get started. But for this video, I'll assume you aren't well versed in web development. So to start, I'll be using the latest version of the HitCounterManager program, which at the time of this recording is version 1.21.00. I went ahead and extracted the files to a new folder. Go ahead and open up the HitCounterManager application because I need to go over some of the settings first, which can change the look and behavior of the tracker somewhat already. Click on Settings, and the two tabs we'll be focusing on are Style and Behavior. I'm going to go ahead and display the hit tracker in my OBS just so you can see the changes as I go over them. So starting with the Style tab, the main section we'll be focusing on is Appearance. The first option we have is the Disable Transparency, which if you click this, you'll get a solid background. If you disable the coloring of the names will be in the default white color instead of green and red. If you disable coloring of progress bar, it'll only use one color instead of multiple. Subscripted PB totals will subscript that number in the parentheses in your PB column. Roman numerals are Roman numerals. And this highlight current split, which we aren't seeing the current split at the moment. So actually, let me just select a previous split, maybe princess. That works. Let's go back. So for this highlight current split, if you toggle that on, it actually applies a different font size to that split. And I'll be showing you later how you can change that font size in particular. I'm also going to disable the transparency just so I can show you where you can change the solid background colors later in the video. All right, now let's take a look at the Behavior tab. For the purpose setting, it basically changes the combination of columns in the tracker, and I'm going to go ahead and leave it on split counter, since changing the style will show on all of these. In the hit severity section, you'll notice it refers to a neither nor color. That's something we'll be able to change in the style sheet later in the video, so in order to show that color later, I'm going to go ahead and select Compare with PB. It also shows for the time column, which I've seen a few runners have toggled on, so I'm going to go ahead and do the same just so you can see what changes. So I'm just going to quickly go to the Features section and show time as Delta. By the way, if you don't use either of these settings, you can safely ignore the neither color in general. And just to briefly go over some of the features, this basically just toggles on different sections of the tracker. So for example, if you don't want a headline, you can disable that. You can disable the run number, and I'll go ahead and leave those on, and so on and so forth. All right, I'm going to go ahead and close this for now and open the HitCounterManager folder back up. So the files we're going to be editing, which you can find both in the Designs folder, are the HitCounter GUI or GUI HTML file and the Style Sheet CSS file. But before we start messing with these files, I highly recommend backing up the original files in case you want to revert back to it or you need to create a new theme based on the original files. So I like to create a new folder in the Designs folder. Let's go ahead and call this one Default. And go ahead and copy and paste those two files into that new folder. So the HitCounter GUI HTML file and the Style Sheet CSS file. All right, now let's go back to the Designs folder. And to keep it simple, I'm going to be using the Notepad application to make these changes so you can easily follow along. But feel free to use whatever editing application you like. All right, first we're going to start by changing the font. So go ahead and open the HitCounter GUI HTML file in Notepad. Now, don't be intimidated by how all this looks. I'm going to be telling you exactly where to insert the code, and it's code we don't even have to write ourselves because an easy way to add a custom font is just by using a free service like Google Fonts, which provides that code snippet for you. And to show you what I mean, I'm going to open up the Google Fonts website, which you can Google for, and I'm just going to choose the font Roboto Condensed, for example. Go ahead and click Get Font. And then you want to click Get Embed Code. And sometimes it's missing, so just click to the left over here and it'll pop up. So the code you want is this embed code in the head of your HTML. So let's go ahead and copy this code snippet. All right, with that copied, go ahead and go back to the HitCounter GUI HTML file. And now we want to paste this right before the closing head tag. So real quick, HTML files are made up of tags, which are these words surrounded by less than and greater than symbols. So for example, here's the opening head tag. And its corresponding closing tag has a / in front of the name. So you want to look for this right here, the / head surrounded by the less than and greater than symbols. So basically we want to enter this code snippet that we copied from Google Fonts right before this closing head tag. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new line before that closing tag and paste the code snippet. Make sure to save this file. And now we need to set this new font in the style sheet CSS file. So go back to your files and open up the style sheet CSS file in Notepad. Under this table section, find a line that says font-family. This is basically a list of fonts separated by commas that the program tries to use, with the leftmost font taking priority. So right after the colon, type space, then the name of the font in quotations. So in my case, it's Roboto Condensed. Add a comma, and then save the file. All right, with that saved, you're going to want to open up OBS, click on the browser source that has your HitCounterManager on it, and refresh it. You can either click this refresh button, that's a shortcut, or if you don't see that, then you can go ahead and open the properties. And at the very bottom, there should be a button that says refresh cache of current page. Go ahead and click on that. Nice. And as you can see, it updated the font. All right, now that you set the font family, let me go ahead and show you where you can change the font size. So go back to the style sheet file you have opened in Notepad, and you can find the main font size under the table section rule, which is right here. Let's go ahead and change it to something different. So let me increase it to 26. Now, basically every time you save these files, you have to refresh your OBS browser source to see the changes. So let me go ahead and refresh it. And there you go, we increased the font size of the text within the splits. Now, this doesn't include the header and footer information like run number and column headers, but we'll be changing those next. Real quick though, I noticed our tracker is cropped at the moment, so let me go ahead and fix that. And we can find that in the behavior tab, where you'll see this show the last finished splits and show the next upcoming splits. So I'm just going to go ahead and reduce those. There you go, it should be fixed for now. Now, there are a couple more areas where you can adjust the font size. And as I mentioned earlier, let's change the header and footer font size next. So you're going to want to find the rule named .major. And let's go ahead and increase that just so you can see the difference. Let's try 30. Go ahead and save. And before I refresh, just look at the column names up top. There you go, they increased in size. And the last place where you can change the font size is if you have this one setting toggled on, and let me go ahead and quickly show you that in the app. So if you have this highlight current split toggled on, then you can change this font size inside the style sheet, which is this highlight rule right here. So basically, this only changes the font size of the current split. Let's go ahead and put something quite a bit bigger, like 36, just so you can see the change. Save the file and refresh the browser source. And now you can see the current split is bigger than the other splits. In order to set colors for the HitCounterManager, we need the corresponding hexadecimal codes for the colors we want. And basically a hex code is represented by a hash sign followed by a combination of 6 letters and digits. I'm going to go ahead and use this website, which provides a color palette in hex. Now, this site in particular is called coolers.co, but you can find a lot of sites like this, and most color pickers will provide the hex code for you as well. Go ahead and open the style sheet in Notepad again. Now, go down to where the rules say better, neither, worse, and gold. And basically what the names of these rules represent is the better is for a clean split, typically green. The neither, which only shows when you're either comparing to PB, that setting I mentioned earlier, or you're showing the time, is basically showing you when your split is neither better nor worse than your PB. The worse is for a split with a hit, typically red, and gold is related to the time delta, I believe, if you toggle that on in the settings. So all we need to do is replace these hex codes with the colors we want. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy the hex codes from this website. So for example, say I want this green for the better rule. Go ahead and replace the better code here. And you want to make sure the hash symbol is left alone. So if you copy it with the hash symbol, make sure there's only one in front of the rest of the 6 letters and digits. All right, let's go ahead and find a color for the neither rule, which we'll go ahead and make that purple, for example, just so you can see the changes. And then for worse, we'll just choose the red. And for gold, we'll just grab that yellow. All right, go ahead and save, and be sure to refresh your browser source. Nice. You may have noticed the progress bar didn't change, and that's actually a different set of rules inside the style sheet, so let's go ahead and take a look at that. Scroll to the bottom where you'll find these rules called progress better, progress neither, and progress worse. No progress gold though. And I believe progress open is the section of white that doesn't have a color in the progress bar. So for this, we're just going to match the better, neither, and worse from the previous section of colors. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy those codes over. All right, go ahead and save and refresh your browser source. And there you go. Now the colors of the progress bar matches the rest of the tracker. Now, if you disabled the transparency of the background in settings, let me show you where you can change the background colors, which, if you notice, alternates between 2 colors. And you can find those 2 hex codes here named even and odd. So let's change even to a lighter color and odd to a slightly darker color. All right, go ahead and save and refresh the browser source. And as you can see, it changed the alternating split colors. However, you'll notice it didn't change all of the background because we still have black behind the names and the run number. So in order to change that, I believe it's under this dark rule. So I'm going to go ahead and just change this to match the light color of the even rule. And there you go. Now, the last thing I'll show you, if you want to change the background of the current split, which is currently green, you can find that hex code under the rule named current. So I'm going to go ahead and grab that blue from the palette and change this hex code. And now we have a blue background for the current split. All right, go back to your HitCounterManager folder. So once you've finished with all your changes, I suggest backing them up in a new folder under this Designs folder. So for example, I'm going to create a new folder. Let's name it DS3 since that was the example in the app when I downloaded it. And I'm just going to copy the HitCounter GUI HTML file and the style sheet CSS file that we edited and copy them to this new folder. Now, the cool thing with this is that you can switch between themes by simply copying these 2 files from their respective folder and pasting them back into the Designs folder. This is really nice if you run different games with different overlay styles. So for example, say you want to go back to the default look. All you have to do is go to the default folder, copy the 2 files, and paste them back into the Designs folder. Go ahead and replace. Now just refresh your OBS browser source and you're back to default. And to switch back to your new styles, all you have to do is just copy and paste those files back into the Designs folder and refresh your browser source. All right, that should be enough to get you started with your own styles. So thank you for watching, and if you'd be so kind as to hit the subscribe button, I'd greatly appreciate it. Also, if you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment down below. And since you're watching, there's a good chance you're a no-hit runner, so maybe I can interest you in checking out my no-hit guide for blasphemous any %. Have a good one.